Hello everyone, I am BeBetterGamer. Welcome to BeBetterGamer Wrestling, the #1 resource for WWF No Mercy, WCW and WWE Revenge, and like today's video, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. I am going to be making a created wrestler for Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, the first created wrestler I am putting up on my channel, none other than the Wild Pegasus, aka Chris Benoit, aka even Pegasus Kid. There we go, got the mask going with the Pegasus Kid. I got 4 outfits I'm going to go through today. I got Best of the Super Junior Fever, the Best of the Super Junior tournaments going on right now in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I just recently did a Let's Play where I played as Liger and played as some of the other Best of the Super Junior heavyweights, former participants that are in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. But you know what? A few people were missing. A few people like Wild Pegasus, like Black Tiger. Don't want to spoil anything, but that'll probably be in my next call video. So I figured I'd make a call with Wild Pegasus so I can include him in the Best of the Super Juniors celebration. So here we go. So right off the bat, I'm just going to let you know the profile, you know, the moves, the parameters, and the logic. All that stuff is going to be found in the description below. I have a link to a Google Doc where I have everything nicely typed out in a template to save some time instead of, you know, spending a whole hour or two going over every single detail. You can just click on that link and find all that information. I'm just going to go over the appearance real quick, so if you want to just get started right away. So right off the bat, you know, the shape of his head, 1, keep it 0. His face is going to be 44. I believe that's Mike Awesome's face in the game. For his hair, you want to give him 5. This kind of hair right here. He had long, flowing, feathered hair back in the day when he was a young Super Junior. Give him the brown color. And then for short hair, give him 2. Keep it the same. Obviously, you have to keep it the same. Everything else, just keep it default. Body size 3. Keep it 0. And then pants, these are the ring. This is ring attire C7. So the first color, you just want to keep it generic blue, which is 4, and then the sides you keep it white, which is 2. You know, creating wrestlers in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and WWF WrestleMania 2000 is a little bit easier when you're trying to like tell people what to do, because they got rid of the numbers for some reason, WWF No Mercy. So instead of saying 2 like it is here, you have to kind of type out white, or, you know, or light red, light blue, but whatever. So that's this wrist tape, and then boots A7, and once again number 2, which is basically white. And there you go, that's Wild Pegasus's that's Wild Pegasus default outfit. And then we're gonna jump to outfit number 2, a variation, basically his light blue outfit, I like to call it. Keep everything the same except for ring attire. We're gonna make that 14, which is light blue right there. Give him some knee pads, go down, give him some number 1 white knee pads, which is number 2 once again. Copy it to the other side, and boom, there you go. That's the second attire. Now his third attire is the Pegasus Kid mask. I basically used Ultimo Dragon's mask, if you can't tell. If you look at the bottom right of the screen right there, it has a direction pad button, left and right. That's basically what you want to press if you want to turn on the mask. So if you press left or right, you'll switch between face and mask, as I'm doing right now. And you go in, keep head 1. That's the smallest head. 9, Ultimo Dragon mask. And this is what I did. I put the first one 4, which is blue, which is the base of the mask. The second one's white. Third one 0, which is default red. Fourth one is 0. You could keep it white as well. I mean, he wore some different variations of the Pegasus Kid mask. The one I'm most familiar with has a little Pegasus on the top, so that's what I kind of imagine the red stripe is. I don't know. Again, you can do whatever you want. This is just how I did it. And then right there is 2, and there you go. That's Pegasus Kid. I kept the outfit the same. Again, you can give him different ring attire. You could give him you know, anything that has a design on the side, pretty much, that breaks it up. You can give him. You can also give him the Ultimo Dragon, you know, outs. These look pretty cool too. You can give him This one you can give him, which is basically the Ultimate Dragon tights as well. So you can switch it up. You can do a lot of different things for Pegasus Kid. You know, do some research, go on Google image search, look for pictures of Pegasus Kid. Wild Pegasus outfit number 4, modeled after another appearance of Wild Pegasus in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. Give him the red outfit, so it's C10 this time. He's got those stars on the side. You can also do, you know, blue and white if you want to give him the stars as well, because he had a few outfits that he wore with blue with the stars. Again, whatever you want to do. This is just how I did it. Knee pads default, which for some reason is red, but it works perfectly for Wild Pegasus. And that's it. And I should also mention, I did change the name when I put him as Pegasus Kid, because that's what he was called when he wore the mask. And then when he took off the mask, he slowly transitioned to being called Wild Pegasus. Well, he didn't take off the mask, he lost the mask. But that's it. That's how you create Wild Pegasus, aka Pegasus Kid, aka Chris Benoit, as most people probably know him by. But when he wrestled in Japan, he was only Wild Pegasus. So we're gonna jump into a match, and I'm gonna show you a little bit of what he can do. Alrighty, we're gonna start a match here with Wild Pegasus so you can see what he can do in the ring. I've modeled his moves after his moveset in WWF No Mercy and WCW and WWE Revenge, and I kind of added a little bit of my own. I mean, there was a lot of moves he didn't have that he used a lot while he wrestled as Wild Pegasus. You won't get to see it in the video, but his front special is a pinning powerbomb. He had that high speed release powerbomb that he usually followed up into a pin. In WCW and WWE Revenge, his front special was the powerbomb flowed over into a pin, and in WWF No Mercy, he had the Fisherman Suplex pin. So I decided to do away with both of those. I gave him the Fisherman Suplex pin as one of his regular moves, but I also changed a few things around. You know, there's no submission specials in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, so I gave him, you know, for the facing down ground head submission, I gave him the crossface, just like how it was in Revenge. Changed a few other things around, gave him the Tilt-A-Whirl Tombstone Pile Driver. He did do that a few times. He did that a lot, actually. Not a lot, but he did it most of the times coming off of the second turnbuckle, infamously defeating Black Tiger 2 in the J Cup that way. So I changed a few things around. I'm going to be facing Shinjiro Otani. And the significance of that, the reason why I chose Otani is because he defeated Otani in the finals of the 1995 Best of the Super Juniors tournament. So I recommend watching a lot of Benoit's time in Japan as Wild Pegasus. He originally started as Pegasus Kid. After his training in the Hart Family Dungeon and his time in Stampede Wrestling, he went over to Japan, started training. He was one of the Young Lions, and he trained over with New Japan, and they gave him a mask. He was called Pegasus Kid. He wrestled in Mexico. He accomplished quite a bit over there in Mexico under the Pegasus Kid gimmick. And actually, in Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, Benoit's in that game as well. He's in a lot of the Aki games. He's in Revenge, WWF No Mercy, Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, and WCW vs. NW World Tour. So in Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, one of his alternate outfits is him as Pegasus Kid with the mask on. And he would lose the mask to Liger, and that's when he would become Wild Pegasus, I guess, because, you know, the mask is off now, so now he's wild. I don't know, I'm making it up. But originally, the Best of the Super Junior tournament, I think I covered this in my Best of the Super Juniors Let's Play, was originally called the Top of the Super Junior tournament, and it started in 1988. It took a couple of years off, and it resumed in 1991, 92, and 93. Before it was called the Best of the Super Juniors in 94. Benoit competed in the 91, 92, 93, so he competed in almost all of the tournaments when they were called the Top of the Super Juniors. And in those tournaments, he wrestled as Pegasus Kid, and he won the 1993 tournament, defeating El Samurai in the finals. So Benoit was a stud back then in terms of, you know, being critically acclaimed as a top technical wrestler. But even before he entered the top of the Super Juniors tournament, he had a rivalry with Liger. And you know, that's why Liger and him, they had the mask versus mask match, and Liger defeated him, taking off his mask. But he won the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship before even, you know, his big win of the top of the Super Juniors tournament. He defeated Liger for the title, but only for a little bit. He only held it for about a few months, and he would lose it right back to Liger. So he competed in the top of the Super Junior 3 times, won it once, and then when it switched over to the best of the Super Juniors, he would compete in the 94 and 95 tournament, and he would win the 1995 tournament. He would also compete in 1996. He competed in the first 3. He defeated Black Tiger 2 in the semifinals to get to Shinjiro Otani. So I teased Black Tiger 2 in the beginning. I will definitely be getting to Black Tiger 2, a created wrestler video for that. If you're not aware either, Black Tiger 2 was Eddie Guerrero. And Eddie Guerrero would win the 1996 Best of the Super Junior tournament. Benoit would lose to him in the semifinals to that tournament. Black Tiger 2 would go on to beat Liger. So I'm going to get into more about Tiger's win, but I wanted to mention it because when Wild Pegasus won the top of the Super Juniors, obviously he was the first Gaijin to win the tournament. Gaijin meaning non-Japanese wrestler, so foreigner. Usually the Gaijins wrestled as heel, but a lot of people really liked Pegasus Kid, aka Wild Pegasus. So he didn't really wrestle too much as a heel. I mean, he always just had that really stiff Benoit style. You know, he still did the heavy chops, he did the diving headbutt, he did the German suplex. Although I don't know if he was doing the multiple German suplexes at that point. You know, he would finish off a lot of guys with the Tiger suplex. Here we go, I got my special going. Now this is where Otani starts giving me trouble, countering my strong grapple. So I'm going to try to give him, you know, once he counters you, you can't give him the special. So I had to give him my release Tiger suplex. Another move I gave him, you know, he doesn't do that move in WWF No Mercy. And then Otani countering me again. So Otani does not want to go down without a fight. And that's good though, because then it allows him to keep playing, show off some of the moves. I haven't really showed a lot of what Wild Pegasus can do because Otani's just been countering me, which is understandable because Otani was, you know, one of the top Super Juniors of, you know, in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He also did win the Super Junior tournament at one point. So let me get back to the significance of Wild Pegasus winning. He was the first Gaijin to win the top of the Super Juniors and the first Gaijin to win the best of the Super Juniors. The next year with Black Tiger's win, that's 2 Gaijins in a row. But we wouldn't have another Gaijin, another non-Japanese wrestler, win the tournament until 14 years later when Prince Devitt won, aka Finn Balor. So that was a big deal, and the significance of that is kind of cool because Prince Devitt started out in Japan as Pegasus Kid 2. You know, he wore the mask and he was the second Pegasus Kid, just like how they have Tiger Mask, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, Black Tiger, 1, 2, 3, 4. You had Pegasus Kid 2. So he would win it, and he would also be, Wild Pegasus would also be the only, if you're counting the top of the Super Juniors, the only Gaijin to win it twice. Technically, if you're counting the history of it when it was called the top of Super Juniors, Prince Devitt would be the first one to do that since Wild Pegasus as well. And Ricochet, who's in the current tournament this year, he's a previous winner of the best of the Super Juniors. Him, Prince Devitt, and Wild Pegasus and Black Tiger are the only 4 Gaijins to ever win the tournament. So that's crazy if you think about it, especially if you're looking at the lineup of this year's Best of the Super Juniors. You got so many Gaijins in it. You know, Matt Seidel's in it, Ricochet, you know, Kyle O'Reilly, a lot of guys are in it, so it's pretty nuts. Like more than almost half of the tournament is made up of Gaijin, so it's gonna be interesting to see who wins it this year, and that'll make more history because then that'll be 5 Gaijins who have won the tournament, unless Ricochet repeats, and who knows after that match with Will Ospreay, he very well might repeat. But Wild Pegasus was a key part of the junior heavyweight division, not just because of his performances in the Super Junior tournaments, but because, you know, he was having outstanding matches with Otani, with Great Sasuke, with Black Tiger, with Liger, with El Samurai, Super Delphin. I mean, the list goes on. There was so much great talent in the early 90s with these Super Juniors, and that kind of class helped put him on the map internationally. He had a standout year in 94, not only competing in the 94 Best of the Super Juniors, but he would win the Super J Cup, which is another junior heavyweight tournament that is going to be happening this year. Originally started in 94, and he won the inaugural J Cup, defeating Great Sasuke in the finals. The J Cup was Liger's idea. He wanted to do an international junior heavyweight tournament, bring the best of the best around the world, not just exclusively for New Japan wrestlers. And Wild Pegasus won that one, having a great match with Great Sasuke. If you haven't seen Wild Pegasus versus Great Sasuke Super J Cup finals, go see it. Fantastic match. You know, and when he won that tournament, ironically enough, he was awarded the WWF Junior Heavyweight Championship, which was defunct by that time. That's the title that they showed when Tatsumi Fujinami was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He won that tournament in WWF. Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid feuded over that tournament in the 80s. Over that championship in the 80s. So there's some history there, especially with Dynamite Kid, you know, who Benoit idolized, who he modeled a lot of his career after. And that wasn't the only light heavyweight championship that Benoit held that belonged to the WWF, because he originally held the WWF Junior Heavyweight Championship as Pegasus Kid before it became the light heavyweight championship. He won it in Mexico in 1991, defeating Villano III, and he held it for 560 days before losing it. The WWF does not acknowledge the time before Taka Michinoku's win, but there's some history there before Taka Michinoku won the championship in a tournament in WWF, and Benoit held that title. Eventually the title would make its way to New Japan and be part of the J Crown, and when Ultimo Dragon had the J Crown, he had the WWF Junior Heavyweight Championship on him. So a little history there. I talk about that in my WWF No Mercy Let's Play. Here we go. I'm about to finish him off with the Tiger Suplex. So then 1, 2, 3, bam. So I hope you enjoyed this Wild Pegasus call. I enjoyed making it. I made it from scratch. I had a Wild Pegasus call that I made back in the day from Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. Of course, I don't have any, paperwork or anything regarding that, so I had to make this all over from scratch. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And yeah, you know what to do. This is YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, keep watching all the wrestling.